Mazel Morons, welcome back to the Good Guys Podcast. I'm sitting here with someone who's got a completely useless minor in chemistry. It's Ben Sauver.
I didn't think that it would be useless the entire time, and I'm actually incredibly excited to discuss this with our esteemed guest. Everyone you love is beautiful because of him. We're fortunate enough to have the #1 plastic surgeon in the land, Dr. Diamond. Dr. Diamond, thank you so much for joining us. As Josh mentioned, at one brief point in time, it really wasn't that brief, honestly. It was like I look back and I'm so sad about the 9 p.m. to 1 a.m. time block that I spent in a chemistry lab when I wanted to be a dentist. We'll dive into it. But Dr. Diamond, thank you so much for joining us.
It's my pleasure. I will tell you that I love the sciences and stuff. I was naturally good at them. But chemistry was one I had, like Chem 101 out of my entire, I'm trying to remember what it was, like freshman or sophomore year, whatever it is in college. Chem 101 was the only non-A that I had. Like Chem 101 to me was harder than everything else. Organic chemistry, easy, and the advanced chemistry is easy, but Chem 101, I think I got like a B in. And it was like the only B I ever got in college. Very confusing for me.
You had an A in phys ed?
Well, phys ed is, that's high school years. Yeah, I was pretty good at that.
Oh, God, good for you. I did not succeed in that area. Wait, we've talked about this before. Why is organic chemistry considered sort of the weeding out class for people who eventually want to go to med school?
Organic chem requires like a kind of a logical type of thinking. So it just kind of weeds out people who can't think, their brains don't work with certain patterns and in a certain way. It has absolutely zero to do with practicing medicine.
Really?
I mean, the chemical structures of medications and things, I guess if you understand organic chemistry, you might have a better understanding of the medications, but you do not need to know like how this fuses with that to like actually get through med school or practice medicine.
Wow. It's so interesting because I feel like it feels like medicine is one of those things that has to be a calling. And yet you hear about these people like, I mean, he doesn't practice medicine per se, but like Andrew Huberman and these people who like later in life found a life in the sciences and a calling, right? So I guess it could be both.
Yeah, it could be. But most of the reality is most of the things that we minored in college have really zero. I mean, I don't know how many people get mad that I'm saying this. Have zero application to med school, and again, zero application to your practice.
First of all, I went to Yeshiva University, so just to set the stage, three great Jews here.
Yeah, there we go.
Not that if you're not Jewish, you're not great, but like you're a little bit less than us. And there's so
this is what
there's
starts
so much
the issues, Ben. Do not propagate that. That's what they think we think.
and it is what we think because it's true. But from a young age, I'm sure that I'm curious if you were the same. Were you getting pressure from just like family and friends to be a doctor? Like that's always the dream, right? It's Jewish parents. Make a living, become a doctor. So from my side, I had a really dear friend whose father owned a dental practice. I thought that dentists were rich, but really he just collected practices. He had like 300 of them. And that's a businessman, right? That's a private equity backed. That's not a dentist. And thank God I realized that at sort of the right time before I went down the road of becoming a dentist. But did you want to be a doctor? And he passed out
during the root canal. I'm just saying.
Yeah, I did.
That's a red flag.
Did you always want to be a doctor? And obviously, there's such a huge difference between being a doctor and being a plastic surgeon for the stars, especially from a monetary perspective. Like, I'm just curious if that was always the plan.
It's a good
and then how it became what it is today.
Yeah, great question. I totally understand where you're coming from. Where I grew up, I actually grew up in a town called East Hanover, New Jersey. It was an all-Italian town. I was literally one of the only Jews in the entire town. Okay, so.
Wow.
In my town, it was a very blue-collar town, and we were a blue-collar family as well. Being a doctor was not something people from my town did. It was not something that no one that I knew from my town went on to med schools, and it's just not. So it actually was never even on my radar. My parents never pushed it. And the reality is I wasn't focused on school when I was, in grade school. I played baseball. I was pretty good at baseball, and that was really my focus. And just kind of, this was not an academically inclined town. It just was not something that was even a possibility for a kid from this town. And so I did not get interested in medical school until like my senior year of high school, actually. My junior year of high school is when I started to get interested. But growing up, it wasn't like, you have to be a doctor, you have to be a doctor. I think my parents were just happy I was going to like do well enough to get into some college somewhere. So no, it was not like they were pressuring my whole life. That's not what happened.
Do you, as someone who's, to your point, your profession is about artistry, it's about improving things for people. I'm an actor. I watch, bad movies, bad TV shows all day. I go, yikes. Ben's an entrepreneur. He sees bad business. He goes, no good. Do you just walk around all day looking at faces going, ugh, yikes. Ben and I included.
I mean, maybe not with the same like emphatic nature that you just said it, but yeah, I think, I have an opinion on many people's faces that walk by me, yes.
And is the thing that jumps out at you, what is the thing that jumps out at you? Is it a lack of symmetry? Is it something bulbous?
Well, oftentimes, if there's something that stands out, then that's oftentimes not what you want.
Sure.
In any way, you don't really want anything to really stand out. You want everything to kind of just blend in, where you don't really pay attention to any one thing, unless someone's got like really blue big eyes or perfect perfect something. You pretty much want things. You don't want things to stand out. If they stand out, it's usually more often than not, it's not a good thing.
Sure.
And so, what do I see? I mean, one of a billion different things. Like when I'm making an opinion in my brain of somebody who walks by me, it could be one of so many things.
And obviously, not everyone has access to such an incredible surgeon as yourself, but does a part of your brain go, oh, it's so easily fixable?
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm. And the term we use is a home run. Like even when I'll talk to Tammy all day or whoever, I'll be like, oh, that person's a home run. Like meaning like if there's something, it's like, oh my God, this would change their life. And so many times you want to just say to somebody, and I did this once. I did this once at a Best Buy. We're talking 50. I've been in practice for a year maybe. We're talking 22 years ago. And the guy who was checking me out had like the weakest chin and like no separation of his neck and jawline. And I was like, oh, bro, we'd kill it with a chin implant. He was probably a 25-year-old guy. He didn't even know what I was talking about. I'm like, oh, this would change your life. I think it's the only time I ever went up to somebody, just randomly said, you really should do this. That was way back when. That was a different lifetime ago. I would never do that now, but I do think that way a lot.
Wow.
So speaking of that, is there a surgery that you're most proud of? Like somebody that came in, whether it was, I don't want to say like a botched job that you fixed, but like, was there somebody afterwards where you were like, holy smokes, you look unbelievable and remember it forever?
I mean, I'm very, very fortunate and blessed and extremely happy and privileged to feel that way a lot with a lot of my patients. But if you're asking me to remember one in particular, there was a TV show that we did for Dr. 902, and it was a TV show that I was on way back when. And it was about this one particular patient was somebody who had the face, all the same facial characteristics of somebody with Down syndrome. There's classic characteristics like these downturned eyes and these low set ears and certain characteristics. Mm-hmm. But she wasn't a Down syndrome patient. And you can imagine how this affected her. People thought she was, challenged, and she wasn't. So we made some big changes on her, and that was really cool. Like that was one I really remember and was quite proud.
Like changed her life. Like
yeah.
That's what I was thinking. Like there are some people that come in, and I'm sure you see the most beautiful people come in and make them look even more beautiful. But I had to imagine that having somebody come in that where plastic surgery could really change their life. Not make it a little bit better, like for maybe vanity, but really change their life.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah, that was one of those. Yes.
And so, looking at me and Josh, what would you change?
Yeah.
You guys are,
Yes. Free consult. This
guys
costs us $750 min, right? $750 minimum for 1,500 minimum with Dr. D. All right, Dr. D.
I've been
My
told my whole
self-esteem
life.
can take it.
No, mine can't. I've been told my whole life that I have a perfect nose. Do I have a perfect nose?
let me see. Turn sideways. Turn the other way. It's actually pretty good. Yeah, your nose is pretty good. Yeah.
And how's Josh? It's
Yeah,
terrible.
it's
No, I'm kidding.
Don't look at mine.
I mean, we
Your
could
nose is
spend
beautiful,
hours going
Josh.
over this stuff.
Yeah.
We when I say we, I mean me. I recently had a small bit of cosmetic procedure, a lower eyelid blepharoplasty. Famil?
You did?
I did.
No way. How old are you?
I'm 37.
37. Okay. What, did you just have some natural bagginess to the lower eyes?
It was a no bueno.
Okay.
It's so funny.
Got it.
This episode of the Good Guys podcast is brought to you by AG1. You guys already know I'm addicted to AG1. I drink it every single day. When I travel, I use their travel packs. When I'm at home, I still use their travel packs because I find them more convenient. That said, you can of course use the big bag, but anybody that meets me knows the first thing out of my mouth is, do you want to feel better? Do you want to have sustained energy throughout the day? I recommend AG1 to all of my friends, and that's why I am recommending it to you. And I'm so happy that they're a podcast sponsor because I really, truly love them. And since drinking AG1 daily, I've just felt this different type of energy from coffee. It's just different. It gives this sustained energy throughout the day, not to mention the fact that I'm incredibly regular, okay? And it gives me my daily dose of vitamins, minerals, pre and probiotics, and more. It's a powerful, healthy habit that's so powerfully simple. It's just one scoop mixed in water once a day, every day. And I love, love, love taking my AG1 in the morning because, you know, I wake up in the morning and the first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna have my 12 to 16 ounces of water. It's such a healthy habit. I have it before my coffee and it's different than coffee. I'm telling you, you don't understand it until you try it, and you absolutely need to try it. So folks, if you want to take ownership of your health, it starts with AG1. Try AG1 and get a free 1-year supply of vitamin D3K2 and 5 free AG1 travel packs with your first purchase exclusively at drinkag1.com/goodguys. That's drinkag1.com/goodguys. Check it out. This episode of the Good Guys podcast is brought to you by Cook Unity. Now, as a celebrity chef myself, let me tell you, it happens. It happens. Sometimes you just don't want to cook dinner. Sometimes you had a long day, you had a long week, whatever it may be, it's okay. It's okay. Let me tell you what's not okay. Ordering in food that sucks. Ordering in food that sucks. It happens far too often. We're like, okay, you know, we don't want to cook tonight. We don't want to cook tonight. We're not in the mood. We're not in the mood. So we go, we order in dinner, it comes, and it stinks. It stinks. It's never, ever, ever as good as it would be in the restaurant. It just isn't. And folks, Cook Unity is here to help. Because you've got enough on your plate. Mundane meals shouldn't be one of them. Get an endless variety of restaurant quality food from award-winning chefs delivered to your door with Cook Unity. All at a fraction of the cost, hello, and time you're spending now. Go to cookunity.com/goodguys or enter code goodguys before checking out for 50% off your first week. Folks, I ordered their rainbow grain salad with grilled salmon, and let me tell you, it was incredible. The only thing that was better, that coconut wasabi cod, oh baby, it was fantastic. They have so many gorgeous, delicious dishes, so easy to make, no time spent, but you're eating good, you're eating clean. It's so much better than ordering in. I highly recommend it because the food tastes delicious. It tastes so good. And you're supporting local chefs and local suppliers, which feels amazing. Support local, okay? Support local. And there's such a wide variety of food. These chefs prepared these gorgeous meals so that you could have easy dinners. And convenient, so convenient. It saves you so much time each week. So much time that you're not sacrificing on quality, you're not sacrificing on taste. And lastly, folks, the chefs you see on TV and in five-star kitchens are the chefs that make your Cook Unity meals. They mean business. Their roster of all-star chefs include Food Network alums, James Beard Award winners, and acclaimed restaurateurs balancing flavor and nutrition in small batch meals sent fresh, not frozen. Add endless variety to your plate with Cook Unity. Affordable food crafted by award-winning chefs delivered straight to your door. Go to cookunity.com/goodguys and enter code GOODGUYS before checkout for 50% off your first week. That's 50% off your first week by using code GOODGUYS or going to cookunity.com/goodguys.
I showed the surgeon a picture of my dad, who, by the way, I've never met. Not that you asked, but I showed him a picture of my dad, and he looks at him and goes, "Well, you don't need a paternity test." And I was like, "Oh, the only thing I got from my dad were his hereditary eye bags." I would have preferred just a bag. But yeah,
sack of cash.
I'd had them since I was like a teenager. People would say like, "Oh, did you not sleep last night?"
Yeah.
And then it got to a point where a director of photography said to me on a movie, he was like, "You're getting hard to light." And I was like, "Oh, thank you, inner thoughts." And because he was like, "It's not your fault. It's like literally, it's you can't cover it with makeup because it's just that little fat pad that's killing you."
Yeah.
So I asked my my surrogate father, John Stamos, and he's like, "Are you an idiot? Get that fixed yesterday. It's so easy. Like so many people do it."
Yeah.
And I reached out to a couple of people, found the guy. It's the greatest thing I've ever done.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing. These procedures, they can really change your life. It's in a way that nothing else can. In a way that I mean. There are many different things that people do that are so important, like exercise and meditation and relationships, and all those things are incredible. But when you've got something physically that you're self-conscious of and you're a good candidate to have that fixed, I mean, that can change your life in a way nothing else can.
Right.
Yeah.
And what, like the doctor who did my eyes, I feel like there's sort of two contingents of highly skilled, highly acclaimed surgeons, right? They're the ones that embrace sort of the more public image, social media side of things. And this is a guy who was like, "Don't say my name." Like,
Yep.
Keep me in the shadows.
Yeah.
He's like Batman.
Totally.
Totally. And is that just a personal preference thing?
It's a personal preference thing. It's a tricky question to answer. There are a lot of people who that's their business models to promote themselves in certain ways, and that's how they get all their business. And we always like to say it's so important to build your reputation by word of mouth, like to let your work speak for itself.
Sure.
That's kind of like that's kind of the purest way and the most authentic way, and the way your doctor is going to be good is if people are like, "Yeah, I went to him and I got a great result." Like that's versus somebody who's blasting social media all over the place and you don't really know anyone who's been there. Like a lot of people are very good with tech skills, and they can become real popular real quick based on their tech skills, not necessarily their medical skills. And so there's both sides of it, but yeah, a guy like that probably just is really good and doesn't, lets his patients just talk amongst themselves, and that's a real good way to do it, and it's a real good way to find somebody.
Yeah.
How important is social media to your business? Because I think that even though that person wants to remain quiet, word of mouth, what once was us sitting around a table and talking about an experience, social media is word of mouth. It's just a word to a much larger audience. So if done right, I would assume that it's the dream for lead generation.
If done right, and as long as it's authentic, right? Like as long as it's real and authentic and not fake and altered. And I'm just saying, like, there's all different levels to how authentic it can and should be. My practice, I was actually very late to the social media game. And it's kind of like I find it a funny story. When I was early on, I was the featured facelift specialist, facial plastic surgeon on this show, Dr. 90210. It became really popular really quick. and they were highlighting a lot of my facial surgeries, and this thing was aired all over the world. And this was right about when Facebook was like kind of really popular, or just kind of getting popular. And I would get hundreds of Facebook requests a day, and I ignored every one of them. Never did it. I was like, I'm just not doing it, because even though I had done this TV show, I was taught by all the purists, and my mentors were all the old school purists, and you were supposed to let your work talk for itself and not be involved in all that stuff. And I did the TV show, and I did that again with some pushback from those guys, but I did that because I needed to show high level results, to show people you can get natural great results. So I did it for that. I did it for that reason, even though the mentors didn't really love that one either. But I said, okay, I'm not doing any social media. So I didn't do Facebook, and I probably missed out on, I mean, had I done it then, I'd have 20 million Facebook followers. I was one of the first people to be getting requested, and I just never did it. And then Instagram came around, and I said, I'm not doing that either. And we didn't do it. And I just was like, I had all my friends and colleagues who were doing it, and they were like, as Twitter, and I'm like, I'm not doing any of that stuff. And then I was in Dubai, because I had a practice that I'd started in Dubai, and wow. I would go every couple months, and I'm seeing this very famous Middle Eastern woman. She was like a very famous singer there, one of the judges on Middle East Has Talent, are like the equivalent to America's Got Talent, whatever. She was like a judge, but very famous. And she came to see me, and she said, I'll post you, I'll tag you. What's your Instagram? I said, I don't have one. And she's like, are you crazy? She said, if you have one, I tell you right now, you'll have like thousands of people calling and coming in. So I was in Dubai. I called Tammy right at this time. It was probably like 11 a.m. in Dubai, meaning it's 11 p.m. LA time. But I called Tammy 11. I said, I'm here with this person. She says like I should have Instagram. She'll tag me. So Tammy made an Instagram right then and there. That's when we started it. And this was probably 2013 or something. We were very late to it. Maybe 2014 something. We were very late to that game. But then we got involved in it and started doing it. And it is an important part of what we do. And what I found out about it is that, I'm a facial plastic surgeon. I do both facial surgeries and I do non-surgical procedures. I do a lot of both. I was always taking care of, from right after I'd gotten started, I was always taking care of like kind of high profile people and, people who have important messages and important faces. They just would never ever talk about it when it was surgical. But as soon as I started doing the Instagram, those same people would start readily sharing their message about non-surgical things and skin things, which I was always a big part of what I did as well. And so once I started doing the Instagram, then a lot of people started to talk about their experiences, because they would never talk about the surgical things and rarely still do, but they're happy to talk about their little fillers or their skin treatments or their other things. And so it became a big part of how my patients started to spread their message to their followers. Is
there ever a fear? Obviously, there's the upside with, doing work on these very high profile people. But we've, talked to Dr. Terry Dubrow before, and every surgeon we've ever had on has said, like, obviously, unfortunately, complications do happen. That's a part of medicine. Is there also a fear of like, if an unavoidable complication happens with one of these high profile people, God forbid they show it on their Instagram or whatever, is there also that side that's a little...
I'm sure that's an issue for people. For me, the things I do, are so predictable, and I have them so honed. We just don't see, knock on wood, thank God, we just don't see these things. I don't worry about these things. When complications arise, they're tiny little things that we don't have disaster. We just don't have disasters. Like, again, knock on wood, thank God, there by the grace of God go I. But it's not luck. It's so I don't worry about these things.
Yeah.
This episode of the Good Guys podcast is brought to you by Nutrafol. And look, folks, it is what it is. We're all getting older and our hair is going to start to thin. We need to do something about it. We need to take action because hair thinning affects approximately 1 in 2 women. It's normal, but it's certainly not ideal. Whether you're actively struggling with hair shedding or want to get ahead of the problem and improve your hair health, now is the perfect time to add Nutrafol to your daily routine. Because Nutrafol is the #1 dermatologist recommended hair growth supplement brand trusted by over 1 million people. See thicker, stronger, faster growing hair with less shedding in just 3 to 6 months with Nutrafol. Everyone's root cause of hair thinning are different, so a one-size-fits-all approach to hair growth doesn't cut it. Nutrafol has multiple formulas that are all tailored to give your hair what it needs to grow throughout different stages, such as postpartum and menopause, as well as for different lifestyles, such as plant-based diets. Physician formulated with 100% drug-free ingredients, Nutrafol supplements support healthy hair growth from within by targeting root causes of thinning, including stress, hormones, aging, nutrition, lifestyle, and metabolism as they evolve throughout a woman's life. So folks, get results you can run your fingers through. For a limited time, Nutrafol is offering our listeners $10 off your first month subscription and free shipping when you go to Nutrafol.com and enter promo code GOODGUYS10. Find out why over 4,500 healthcare professionals and stylists recommend Nutrafol for healthier hair. Nutrafol.com, spelled Nutrafol.com, promo code GOODGUYS10. That's Nutrafol.com, promo code GOODGUYS10. This episode of the Good Guys podcast is brought to you by Philadelphia Cream Cheese. If there's anyone that knows creamy, it's Philadelphia cream cheese. It's extremely versatile and can be used to enhance any meal, snack, or anything in between. Philadelphia makes everything creamier. And I mean everything, folks. Sure, you think of Philadelphia when you're thinking of bagel, lox, cream cheese, maybe a little bit of red onion, maybe a little bit of, cucumbers. Yeah, I understand. You think of Philadelphia with bagels, and boy, are you missing out. Because of course they're great with bagels, but they're great with so much more. Because Philadelphia cream cheese makes everything creamier. How about a dip? Okay, how about a dip? How about macaroni and cheese? How about you put a little Philadelphia in your mac and cheese and make it that much creamier, okay? How about a cheesecake, okay? Cooking with Philadelphia cream cheese, that's where it's at, folks. It's not just about the bagel. It's so much more than the bagel. And if you want inspiration, visit creamcheese.com. That's right, they got that URL, creamcheese.com. There are so many recipes, savory ideas, sweet ideas. It is absolutely everything and more. Philadelphia makes everything creamier. Visit creamcheese.com for recipe inspiration and so you can start adding Philadelphia to your recipes at home. Visit creamcheese.com. You'll never go back.
It was a question that I had too. It's scary though, because the equivalent of what you do for, let's say, the Kardashians is like being the person responsible for working on Mariah Carey's vocal cords. Yeah. Like it is their main moneymaker.
Totally.
Right.
And so it's not even like a complication. It's just like, God forbid something goes wrong. It's scary, but yes, you got to go to somebody great. Josh, this is why we don't get plastic surgery in Costa Rica. This is why we go to Dr. Diamond.
That's right.
Yes.
And this is why. That's it. Go to Dr. Diamond. You can trust him. Stop penny pinching because it's your fucking face.
It's your face.
Like I can't. Like
I can't get Botox on Groupon? Is that what you're telling me?
They have that.
We have.
You don't like Botox in a strip mall? That's going to be the name of my new album.
That's going to be the name of the podcast. The podcast episode, Botox in a strip mall. I told this story on the podcast before, but I have a friend's cousin who he never had great teeth. And he said that he was going to get veneers, and we're like, oh, where are you getting them? And he's like, oh, I'm going to Costa Rica to get my veneers done. So cheap, $4,000. And it's just like, why? Like, Is it really worth the money?
Yeah.
Is it really worth it? Like the things that can go wrong there, and I'm sure do go wrong. Do you ever have people coming to you saying, hey, I fucked up. I went somewhere else. They really messed me up. Can you fix me?
Yeah, what do you think of medical tourism?
So Yeah, and this kind of thing comes up all the time, and it's interesting. Different places, it's almost like travel. Like before big holidays and stuff, for months leading up to the holidays, I see people all day long, and I always ask people, "Where are you going this summer? Where are you going this winter?" And it's like every year there's like kind of a different flavor. Like 4 years ago, everyone was going to Greece. 3 years ago, everyone was going to Saint-Tropez. 2 years ago, everyone was going to Italy. This summer, everyone was going to Portugal, right? Like, places have their moment. It's like medical tourism sort of does too. Right now, everyone's talking about Turkey. But like a few years ago, it was Rio de Janeiro. And a few years before that, like these things kind of come and go. The reality is I think most people go there because it's cheaper. People always ask, but they get really good at marketing themselves. And I have people all the time say, I hear Turkey's the best at this. And I'm like,
hair. Everyone's like they're the best at hair.
I can tell you right now. Look, I'm not here to disparage anybody. I can tell you, like, you don't just become like these things. To become the best takes years and years of the community being amazing at it. Like everyone elevating each other. It's like a place doesn't just pop up and all of a sudden they're the best. It just doesn't work like that. So they may be the best at marketing themselves for hair. They may be really good at that. But I can tell you that, I would never in a million years go do that. I would find the best here because the reality is this is the most competitive market in the world. It always has been. It always will be until LA is no longer the most popular destination for everything else in the world. And you're just not going to find better than the best here. You're just not.
And
it's also not something that somebody needs. Like, that's what I always found so fascinating. Like, he didn't, for example, this guy didn't need new teeth. He wanted new teeth.
Yeah.
Totally cosmetic.
Yeah.
And so why would you ever risk that? The same thing with the hair transplants in Turkey. I'm not saying that for $1,000 in a free hotel, it's not great service. Maybe it is. Who knows? But considering you can live without hair, why would you ever go under the knife or under whatever it is somewhere that you don't trust, considering it's not like a life or death surgery?
Yeah, it's
to me it was always
it's just for price savings. It's just for savings, just for cheaper procedures. That's the only reason.
But I've heard it said too that it's not that the providers aren't great in other countries. It's the God forbids, right? Like, how's the ICU in Istanbul if God forbid something went wrong?
Totally.
Yeah.
And and I have a interestingly just one little anecdote, an N of one, but I saw a friend of mine called me a year ago. And he said, my daughter wants a rhinoplasty, and
that's nose job. Just saying, just so you know, Ben, it's doctor talk.
For
Sorry.
those who need a little.
By the way, Jewish. I know what a rhinoplasty is.
He's in Long Island currently. It's the official rite of passage.
That's like literally candy for a 13-year-old Jewish girl, like Halloween.
So it's a guy that I'm not like that close. Like, he's a friend, but not like a best friend. So I hadn't talked to the guy 2 years or something, but he called me, said my daughter, 19-year-old wants a rhinoplasty, and she found somebody in Turkey that she said is amazing, and she wants to go. And he's a very smart guy. He's a very, very high level smart attorney, just a smart dude. And he says, I think this is destined for failure. I think it's a big mistake. I said, listen, Keith, let me at least see her. And he said, she saved up her $5,000 and she's an adult now. She makes her own decisions and this is what she can afford. I said, well, let me see her. Like, let me just give you an opinion. I don't even want her to come I'm not asking for her to come to me, but let me at least, because I want to help her make a good decision. So she came to see me and she showed me all these pictures of what she wanted, and and actually the person, her like example of perfect noses happened to be my patient that I do her nose. And wow. I didn't tell her this. She says, I want this nose. And I looked at her and I said, you can't get that nose. Your nose will not allow for this. Like, we have limitations and there's certain things. Not only couldn't I give it to her because her body wouldn't allow, but it wouldn't have even looked right on her. It wasn't right for her face. So I said, this is going to be a mistake for you to try to get this. First of all, you can't say, well, it won't look good. She said, well, this guy from Turkey who she'd never met, just like through email, said he could give it to me. I said, well, he cannot give that to you. And not only that, you have a couple little traps here where if you try to do it, not only can't you do it, not only won't it look right, but that now you're going to develop some asymmetry. Like it's not a good idea to go after what you're going after. So well, he said he could do it, and she was being a 19-year-old. She was being like a bratty, almost belligerent, like yelling at her dad in front of me, yelling at me, "Why'd you bring me in here? I told you he was going to say no." And I'm like, "Good luck." And she left. She went to Turkey, had it done, and now it's like the biggest disaster ever. Exactly what I said was going to happen, and now she's even more miserable. She spent her money. She did and I was like, so. That's just an N of one. Not that there aren't good doctors there. I'm sure there are. But, now she's stuck here with some problems. And, now she's got to pay to have those problems addressed here. And, she doesn't have any life-threatening problems. But she's got a lot of little things that need to be done now. And it's just a real issue not being near her guy,
This episode of the Good Guys podcast is brought to you by PXG. Now, anybody who knows me knows that I love golf. And for a long time, my wife hated golf until she found the game of golf. Now we play together because golf is the best. And PXG, folks, is on a mission to create the most high-quality, high-performance golf clubs in the game. Well, they're bringing that same passion for excellence to their new line of apparel. And I gotta say, they nailed it. Their fall and winter collection is perfect for the course, the office, everywhere. Made with premium materials and technology designed for peak performance, these confidence-inspiring looks invite all-day play, taking you seamlessly from the course to the office to an evening out. PXG apparel takes a modern approach to classic sportswear. The new collection features luxurious fabrics with climate control technology and meticulous detailing, making them perfect transitional styles for the cooler months ahead. From golf trips to weekend getaways to upcoming holiday parties, these dynamic pieces add versatility and standout style to every occasion. PXG apparel has something for everyone: pants, polos, sweaters, pullovers, joggers, jackets, skirts, totes, and hats. Everything you could want. And folks, I got these sick polos and sweaters. They're amazing. We're coming into the fall months, folks, and I'm going to be golfing deep into fall, maybe even into winter. And that's why PXG is the best. They make jackets, sweaters, pullovers, everything so that I can stay warm and play golf as deep into the season as possible. Elevate your style game on and off the course with the PXG Fall Winter 2024 collection. Head over to pxgapparel.com/goodguys and use code goodguys at checkout to save 10% on all apparel. That's pxgapparel.com/goodguys. Code goodguys to save 10% on apparel. pxgapparel.com/goodguys. Code goodguys.
Because of social media, are you seeing younger patients coming in than ever before? Like, I'm thinking about like what Instagram and TikTok are doing specifically to just like the self-esteem of younger people. Are you seeing maybe people coming in wanting to change things about their face that you never thought that you'd see from a 16-year-old? Or I don't know if you can talk about that.
It's a good question. I've always, for a long time, I've taken care of, a lot of Hollywood, people in the industry making a living with their appearance.
Sure.
And so these tend to be younger people. I mean, it's a whole age range, but there are a lot of younger people as well. And I've taken care of younger people for a long time. But has the age decreased? Like, for my practice, I have a very discreet kind of practice, and we're very judicious about what we do and who we take care of. So it's not like I've got 14-year-olds coming in saying I want their lips done. That doesn't happen. We wouldn't do that. But, do I see the, and certainly there are certain procedures that you want to address early for self-esteem and psychological issues. Like, it's totally, and always has been acceptable for 5-year-olds to have their ears pinned back. That's been standard of care for years, because if a 5-year-old has like protruded ears, they'll get made fun of.
So you don't
at
look
school.
like Dumbo.
Right, and that causes psychological.
Or we'll make fun of them on this podcast.
100%.
I didn't even know you could do that. Did you know you could pin back ears, Josh?
Of course.
Yeah,
I didn't know. I just like look
I'm
at big
up on
ears
this
and I'm just
stuff.
like, oh, you're so unfortunate. But
well, you can do something about it, but it is fully acceptable and considered appropriate to address that at 5 years old.
Or
To
a hair lip.
hair stuff like that. But hair lip is more
cleft
functional
palate.
even, but yes,
Right.
that's more functional, but even the cosmetic components of that. Okay, rhinoplasty, nose jobs. It's totally acceptable for girls to get that done at 15, boys to get it done at 16, because they're fully grown at that point. By the way, the ears are fully grown at 5. That's why we do it at 5. So there are things that are totally considered, have always been considered appropriate and acceptable for psychological benefits. So, and I've always done those procedures on those age people. As far as the non-surgical things like Botox and fillers, yeah, every now and then we'll have a 20-year-old model who's out in the sun, and they squint too much and it affects them, and we'll consider doing a little Botox to prevent that on those very certain circumstances. But it's not like I've got 15-year-olds coming in for lip fillers and Botox and things like that. Are those people calling more? Maybe, but it's not like, yeah, my practice is now turned into 15-year-olds doing lip filler. It's not like that.
What is a procedure that's gained popularity right now that you're a fan of, and what's a procedure that's gained popularity right now that you're not a fan of?
Gain popularity.
Or it's just hot. It's having its moment.
Well, in my practice, with what I do the things that I've sort of been doing for the past 15 years they're sort of always hot and popular.
Right.
These are the things that I do. I never jump on trends.
Like Buccal Fat or these kind of things.
Buccal Fat's been around. So let's phrase this another way.
Yeah, buckle up.
And what's Buccal
Fat.
Fat?
Let's do
let
it.
the
Buckle up.
Josh is an insider. Maybe our listeners. What is
very
Buccal
self-centered.
Fat?
Let's put this another way. So some of the things that have become, I'd say, more popular the past several years have been buccal fat reduction and lip lifts. Okay. Now, these things are not new. These things have been around 30 years before I started. These things have been around since the 1970s, probably. But I like to say these are little like dopamine hit Instagram posts. They're quick little sexy things that are easily marketed. And so there have been some people who have marketed those particular procedures since Instagram has become really popular. There are a couple really good Instagram promoters. They promote themselves very effectively that have promoted these things. So over the past, let's say, 8 years, 7 years, I do think more people ask about those things. And I just want those people to make sure they know these are not new procedures. I started doing these things in 1997 when I started. And they were taught to me by people who've been doing them for 30 years. So these are not new procedures. But I think there is more awareness of them because people do promote them. And they're great procedures on the right people, but they're also terrible procedures on the wrong people.
I heard you on the Great Dear Media podcast with Lauren and Michael, and you said with buccal fat procedures, it would be like 1 in 10?
Probably, yeah. I'd say about 1 in 10 people who ask for buccal fat are appropriate for it. Yeah.
And why is that?
Because fat is so precious in the face. There is not a lot of it. And even people who think their faces are fat, oftentimes it's the look that they don't like is not from excess fat.
You hear that, Ben? We're doing all right. Sorry.
Okay. And so
No.
and as you age,
And so quickly, buccal fat is removing fat from your face.
Yeah, the buccal
procedure?
fat pad lives like in the cheeks, and so it's a procedure where we
Okay.
go inside the mouth and we kind of pluck out the extra fat, which kind of can
Got
bring
it.
the cheeks in. And again,
Okay.
this was taught to me by somebody who'd been doing it since 1970. Again, it's now, so what does that make that? At least a 50-year-old procedure. But again, if you follow, people will make it sound like it's new when they're promoting it. And again, because it's such a quick little delicate thing and you can see the results, it's just a real sexy little post, little square there. So it's easy to market. Okay, but the reason that it's not great for a lot of people is because as we age, we lose our facial volume, we lose our facial fat. And if you lose fat before, which is going to happen anyway for most people, it can really make things start to sag and look like gaunt and look hollow, and that can be really hard to fix, and that can age somebody more rapidly than just even a natural aging process.
Oh, I've been going for gaunt though.
You've been going for gaunt?
Gaunt's the goal.
Yeah, some people
Just
want
saying,
gaunt.
title, gaunt's the goal.
Yeah, and again, and so it can be, and I totally understand. So I have this discussion with everybody, by the way, and I had this very popular actress who was kind of hitting her stride. She was getting all these big things. It was happening for her right now. It was happening for her, and she said, "I feel like I need a little more contour here." And I said, "You are not a great candidate for it. This just isn't this. You know, there are certain people. By the way, there are certain people who will never look too hollow. Like if someone's got a proper round face with thick skin, then fine, that's a good candidate for it. And that no matter what, they're never going to look too hollow. It's never going to age them. There are people who are terrible candidates for it, where you're going to do it, and in 2 years they're going to look too hollow. And then there are people who it's kind of like it's could be, might not be. Like, so you got to figure out who you're dealing with. But this
What about me? Hypothetical.
Take your headphones off for a second. Look right here at me. I don't think it would do much for you. No, I don't think it'd be good for you. There are other things I would do for you much more readily than that.
Wow, great. Turn off the mics. Turn off the mic. Someone call my shrink. Oh my God. Wow. Wasn't expecting such an aggressive
Josh,
answer.
there's no need to focus on that area. We have many more glaring
Someone call
issues.
CVS and up my Zoloft, please. I'm barely hanging on. Oh, so good.
All right, so back to my story. So I had this very popular actress. She was popping, and
Are we able to name names? Or
I can't name names now. And
okay, fine.
And she asked about doing Buccal Fat because she wanted a little more contour for these particular roles she was going for, and I said, you are not a great candidate for this. She was probably 26 at the time. I said, you are not a good candidate for this. If there's anyone who's going to more rapidly age because it will be you. And she said, when do you think I might see that more rapid aging? I said, probably for you, when you're 40, you may regret it. When you're 45, you may regret it. Like, you're somebody who is likely to say, I regret doing that. She said, you know what? I totally appreciate it, and I hear you. She said, but I'm in my prime right now. These next 5 years are where I'm going to make or break everything. Like, this is my money-making prime, and it's happening for me right now. And she said, I'm willing to have a more contoured look now for the next 5 years. And if I have to pay the price for it when I'm older and there's things we have to do, she said, I'm willing to accept that. But it's going to really help my career right now just hit its maximum. And I said, you know what? I said, I appreciate that and I respect that, and I'll consider doing it for that reason. But we talked about this for multiple visits over. It wasn't just like, okay, let's do it. It was like, I really want you to understand what this, but I get it. Like, this was a unique situation for somebody who's doing real well, trying to become like the top in her field. And so, okay, that's a reason I said I did it on somebody who I would not have otherwise, but that was a very certain circumstance. But you got to take these things very carefully on a case-by-case basis.
So I'm very publicly an Ozempic user. Lost 70 pounds on Ozempic. Love it. Never had the issue of what people are calling Ozempic face. But it's certainly something that people are talking about. I think it's just when an older person loses weight rapidly, exactly what you just said, where I guess some of the fat is missing from their face that was maybe in their youth. Do you think Ozempic face is a real thing? Or do you think it's just perhaps people that were older looked a little bit younger because of the fat in their face? And when they lost the fat in their face, they looked appropriately aged? Or do you think Ozempic is really causing people to have a change in their face?
I think that there's multiple components to this. First of all, rapid weight loss oftentimes affects people's face. oftentimes people who lose rapid weight see sagging in their face. But that just now, it probably didn't happen for you, but it happens to a lot of people. So I think that's one component of it. Second component of it is Ozempic. It's been shown to decrease muscle mass as well, and the face has a lot of muscle in it as well. And so what I have physically, personally seen while doing facelifts on people who have had Ozempic is I've seen the muscle layer has been thinner and been weaker. And so I've actually seen this as a component, like with my hands on their tissue. And so I think that the volume loss is a problem for those people. I think the muscle loss, I think the fat loss does cause a sagging appearance. Now, it's going to affect some people in a cosmetic way more than others, but I think those are the main reasons: weight loss and loss of fat and muscle.
Ben, let's do get your what are you nuts ready, and
it's ready.
Okay,
yeah.
Perfect. And then let's talk about, you have a new skincare line. This is big. This is exciting. Plug away. We want to hear about it.
Yeah. So our skincare, the brand is called Dr. Diamond's Medicine, METACINE, which is a nod to the future, meta and medicine being that this is a medical science-backed skincare line. So within medicine, we started with what we call the Instafacial collection, which is these two products. It's a growth factor serum, and then a serum that's got retinoid ester and high hyaluronic acids and antioxidants. Okay, so this is based off of an in-office procedure that I created called the Instafacial. Dr. Diamond's Instafacial. This is a medical procedure that we created over years, and it's become one of the most popular things we do, and it's become like a Hollywood favorite skincare treatment protocol that we have. It's developed like its own cult-like following, the Instafacial, and it involves using your own blood, which has growth factors and has proteins and all the things that our skin loses with age and needs to be at its most youthful, most radiant. And so based on the Instafacial procedure, we decided we have the know-how to create something that can live on a shelf in a bottle for people who can't come to see me and who need to get an Instafacial type of result without coming in for the actual medical procedure. And that's how we came up with Dr. Diamond's Medicine, and we came up with the Instafacial collection. So these are our first two SKUs, and it's honestly, it's the only thing that I use now, and my skin's never looked better. And I hear this all day long from patients all day. So we know that we hit the mark just how we wanted to. There's not a day goes by I don't see people from all over the world in the chairs saying, this has changed my skin. I've thrown out everything else. I don't need 20 steps. I need 2 steps. And by the way, I was creating something that I would use, because before this, I wasn't, as a guy, I'm not doing 20 steps. I was like, this has to be effective in just 2 steps. It's 2 simple steps. And what's crazy is guys typically they kind of use whatever their girls have, their wives have, or their partners have, or whatever. Now, I mean, all day long, I've heard from the guys that they're like, my wife's stealing it from me, like, because guys are ordering and they're like, their wife's stealing it from them. It's like the first skincare line that the woman's taken from their man instead of vice versa. So this is what we're starting with, and this is what we launched with, and so it's the results are amazing. It's doing great, and we couldn't be more proud of it.
Love it. And
where can we buy it? I'm incredibly excited to try it. Where can we buy it?
We are direct to consumer online, and we are in retail stores. I don't even know the details of which. We're in Blue Mercury and Nordstrom's.
Ooh, love a Nordstrom.
What else are we?
But online. We can buy it anywhere online.
Yeah, online. Yeah.
And what's the website?
DrDiamondsMedicine.com. I don't even know this stuff, but that
good title.
Yeah, Dr. Diamond's Medicine, METACINE, medicine.com.
Love that.
Yeah.
And if
great. Well,
and if that's
Josh,
not the website, get on GoDaddy and steal it from Dr. Diamond. No.
And sell it back to him for $100,000. That's a great call. Well, I'm going to use it, Josh. One day I'm going to come in. I'm going to look glowing. I don't know if you know this, but based on the way that my skin looks, which is pretty damn good. Nothing but soap and water. That's it.
Oh,
That's it.
that should be your what are you nuts?
You got blessed genetics, yeah.
So now I'm going to use this stuff, and all of a sudden I'm going to be perfect. So I'm very, very excited to try the medicine. Medicine, lovely. What are you nuts, Josh?
Yeah, to introduce our What Are You Nuts segment, every week we talk about our gripes with people, places, and things, something that's sticking in your craw, big or small, complain away. We'll start, and then you have time to think about yours. Great. Ben, take us away.
And maybe Dr. Diamond, it's a patient or somebody. You'll get it. So I was in Vermont the past 2 days, and first of all, I could do a whole What Are You Nuts on Burlington in general. That place is just gross. But I'm driving down from Burlington to Middlebury, which is gorgeous. Highly recommend. And I stop at a Dunkin' Donuts. I'm just looking for an iced coffee, fresh off the plane. I walk into the Dunkin' Donuts, and I said, can I order an iced coffee, please? I'd love a large iced coffee, little bit of half and half, one Splenda. She says, no, I can't take your order. You're going to have to use the app. I said, what do you mean? I'm literally talking to you. I can't order an iced coffee through you. She said, no, you can only order it through the app. You pay through the app. I will then hand it to you after you've downloaded the app. And all I have to say is, what are you nuts? Dunkin' Donuts, this is too difficult. This doesn't make any sense. I understand that maybe you're trying to get more people to download your app, but you're losing customers. And I just don't think that the trade-off is worth it. If somebody comes up to your counter, orders a coffee, give them the damn coffee.
Wow. Well said.
I'm with you.
My What Are You Nuts is my beautiful son just started kindergarten last week. Amazing. Had an orientation with the parents, 2 hours, not short. And they said to us, if your child is absent, we would suggest a donation of $75 a day that they are absent. Because this is the money that we lose next year in funding for the school for an absence that we report. What are you nuts? 75 a day because the kids got croup? I didn't choose croup. You know what I'm saying? I'm not a part of big croup. Like, this shit happens, dog. I owe you $300 if my son is sick for a week. What are you nuts?
It's also just like, it's not enough money to say it, and it's like it's so weird. Like, I thought you were going to say $7,500. Like, $75, just shut up. Like, the kid's sick. What do you want from them? You need their $75?
Meanwhile, I'm definitely going to pay it.
No, we're not. We're
this
standing
is
up
public
against
school.
Big
We
Crew.
need to support.
We're standing up against Big Crew. No good. No good.
Dr. Diamond?
I got like a million, but I'll tell you one that's always sort of on top of mind. Like, I'm a busy guy. I got places to be.
Sure.
Right? As we all do. Nothing drives me more crazy than when I'm driving wherever I'm going, and there are the bicyclists, and they're taking up 3 wide in the lane going 12 miles an hour, like up a hill, and there's a line of traffic behind them. That drives me crazy. And, you know, I know you got to respect the cyclists and stuff, but why can they not go single file and stay in the shoulder? And I'm sure the cyclists are going to be pissed who hear this, but get your asses out of the road. What are you effing nuts?
What?
So good.
It's a wonderful What Are You Nuts, and I'll take it one step further. If you
good.
own a bike, throw it away. Throw it away. These cyclists don't belong in major cities. Move to Middlebury or to Burlington and bike to work.
Yes.
Like the Amish man that you are. Otherwise, hop in a fucking car. I'm so with you. Like, the bike lanes have destroyed Manhattan. Destroyed. Oh, it's disgusting.
Yeah.
You know, when you get 3 Jews complaining, we really hit our stride.
Oh, yeah. No, it's key. It's key. Dr. Diamond, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
This was an absolute pleasure.
Fun.
Everybody go and Google Dr. Diamond's medicine to find the proper website and shop his new skincare line and find it near you. And folks, as always, rate this episode 5 stars. If not, what are you nuts? Listen to us on Spotify, Apple, wherever you get your podcasts. Watch us on Josh's YouTube. You got to see us in action. Share our clips. Follow us on Good Guys on Instagram, on TikTok, Mondays and Thursdays, folks. We'll see you next time.